You are Xi Jinping. I realize how bad of a position you are in. Nobody should be Xi Jinping. But for a minute, let's say you are. As China's dictator, who is responsible for the Beijing Winter Olympics to be conducted flawlessly, what will you do? Ensure that the infrastructure is ready and good to go? Make sure you have enough money to organize the games? Create a COVID safe environment? No, that's not what you do. As Xi Jinping, you muzzle free speech, arrest activists, and fortify China as a police state. You can't have protests rocking Beijing during the Olympic Games, right? But guess what? The Olympic participants have a surprise for you. Hi and welcome. This is TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I am your host Sanbir, and in this video I will explain how Beijing Olympics could turn into China's biggest embarrassment on the world stage. Let's begin. Tibetans are no fans of the Chinese Communist Party. They despise the Chinese state and want nothing to do with it. They long for freedom and sovereignty. To that end, Tibetans seem to be preparing for a massive show of strength at the upcoming Beijing Winter Olympics, scheduled to take place at the Chinese capital from February 4th to 20th. If there is a country that comes remotely as close as Nazi Germany, it has to be Xi Jinping's China. Just like Adolf Hitler executed the non-Aryan communities, including Jews, Jinping is executing the genocide of ethnic minorities like Tibetan Buddhists and Uyghur Muslims. The world failed to stop Adolf Hitler in the last century due to one big mistake, which was that of letting Hitler organize the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Similarly, the world could be making an equally big mistake by letting China organize the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. But Tibetan and Uyghur activists are determined to humiliate China during its supposed moment of glory. So, Tibetan, Uyghur and Hong Kong activists are waging a global anti-China campaign. Guess what? China needs to be very scared, because these activists are now talking directly to sportspersons who are slated to participate at the Beijing Winter Olympics next month. Leading the crusade to educate Winter Olympians about China's excesses in Tibet, Xinjiang and Hong Kong is a group called Students for a Free Tibet. On Sunday, SFT activists visited the site where American Olympic participants are practicing for the Winter Games. They spoke to several sportspersons and told them about the human rights abuses of the Chinese Communist state, apart from educating them about Chinese occupation of Tibet, Hong Kong and Xinjiang. Former SFT campaigns director Sonam Tso had the opportunity to meet three-time Olympic gold medalist Shaun White. The first thing she told him is how much the Tibetan flag means to her. She also told him how in Tibet, if she walked up to an Olympic athlete with the Tibetan flag, she could be jailed indefinitely, tortured, and even killed. The SFT team also met American freestyle skier Hannah Faulhaber. They separately interacted with two-time Olympic gold medalist David Wise and American free skier Britta Sigourney. The SFT activists handed them over letters co-authored by hundreds of Tibetan, Uyghur and Hong Kong students. The Tibetan activist group urged all Olympians to read and learn more about Chinese human rights abuses before they depart for Beijing. According to Radio Free Asia, the Chinese Communist Party is not taking any chances with the Beijing Winter Olympics. It is securing all loose ends, and in that effort, it has beefed up security all across Tibet. The Himalayan region, which China illegally occupied in 1949, has now been turned into a full-blown police state. China has also imposed restrictions on Tibetans who are no longer allowed to travel and interact with each other freely. Large numbers of police and armed security personnel have now been stationed in Lhasa, and persons visiting Lhasa from outside areas are being questioned. Additionally, household inspections are being conducted by the CCP's forces. Privately owned restaurants and shops are also being thoroughly inspected. Tibetan, Uyghur and Hong Kong activists have really upped the ante against CCP. You see, the CCP was not expecting the Winter Olympics to be held in Beijing to become such a bone of contention for the democratic world. It came as a surprise to Xi Jinping, and now he doesn't really know how to deal with the problem. Meanwhile, sportspersons slated to participate at the Beijing Winter Olympics are fast realizing how cruel China really is. So, they might just come together next month and humiliate the CCP from Beijing itself. It really is a possibility considering just how oppressive China is. All these sportspersons will be foreign nationals protected by the Olympic truce. So, they actually have the power to speak up against China's atrocities from within Beijing and send a resounding message across the world. Rest assured, Xi Jinping will not be able to survive such an assault. He will be kicked out by the Chinese Communist Party as China's president and will be lucky to remain alive for the remainder of his miserable life.